August was an absolutely incredible month for Xbox Game Pass members, with massive titles like Hades and Psychonauts 2 joining the lineup. But don't expect things to slow down now that September has arrived. So here's what's on the way in the next couple of weeks.
You'll notice the DNA from plenty of other titles in Craftopia. From craft-happy multiplayer games to open-world survival quests, farming simulators, classic RPGs, and many more. But by bringing all of these different strands together, Craftopia spawns a truly different animal. Case in point, in Craftopia, you actually can create literal different animals by crossing the DNA of various creatures to create stuff like adorable bear-cow crossovers. And while spawning a whole new species would usually be an essential part of a game, here it's just one more thing that you can do. Industrializing your farm with giant conveyor belts, crafting new magic spells, hacking and slashing your way through enemy hordes, gliding up into the clouds to chat with an ancient Egyptian deity. These are all just things you can do in Craftopia. It's like a lot of other games and also like nothing you've ever played before, and it arrives on September 2nd.
One of the great things about the long-running Final Fantasy series is that you could pick just about any game from it and know that it's somebody's favourite. Sure, the 7th game gets all the critical acclaim, but some people were all about 8's gunblade action, or 10's segue into futuristic water sports. But if all you want in life is to play as a character who carries a baby chocobo around in his afro, then it's Final Fantasy XIII for you. The game's story is exactly the sort of wild science fantasy which the series has always excelled at. Featuring a floating world named Cocoon, an oppressive government, and a bunch of godlike beings who love to give random citizens highly important but incredibly vague quests to complete. Featuring a redesigned battle system, a whole bunch of eclectic characters, and some truly gorgeous action sequences, Final Fantasy XIII is an often overlooked chapter in a saga which is well worth revisiting.
The first thing we should clear up is that, in spite of its name, Surgeon Simulator 2 will not actually have you simulating real-life surgical procedures. At least, I really hope this isn't how actual surgery works. The game takes place inside a controversial surgery school, which believes that on-the-job experience is way more valuable than any of that fancy book learning which real doctors have. Which means you get to perform surgical procedures from the point of view of an untrained everyman, pulling out organs and yanking off limbs to the best of your abilities, while wielding scalpels, saws, and hammers with all the dexterity and grace of a diplodocus with a severe head injury. It might not get you through med school, but if you're in the mood for a bit of morbidly hilarious slapstick, Surgeon Simulator 2 is just what the doctor ordered.
As lockdowns ease, many of us might worry about whether we're still able to function out in the world around other people, or at least to almost kinda sort of function the way we did in the pre-pandemic world. Signs of the Sojourner could be the perfect game to help you through those anxieties, as it's all about the art of conversation. Set in a world which has been battered by environmental issues, you play as a young travelling salesperson, journeying to far-off lands to make deals and meet people. Each conversation plays out in the form of a symbol-matching card game, with each region's dialect reflected in the cards they use. Along the way, your own deck will change to reflect how you've grown, bringing you closer to some of the people you've met and further from those you used to know. And it turns out this is Signs of the Sojourner's real trump card. What looks like a charming little card game turns out to be a moving story about home, growing up, and moving on.
While roguelike fans are no doubt still happily hacking and slashing their way through the depths of the Greek underworld in Hades, September's Game Pass offerings include a couple of roguish titles that are well worth checking out as well. First off, they'll find a nice change of pace from all that frantic action over in Crown Trick. A young girl named Ellie is taking a snooze when she finds herself sucked into the eerie, atmospheric realm of nightmares. It's not quite a Freddy Krueger situation, but it's not great either, with swarms of enemies who are in need of beating and lots of folk in need of rescuing as well. So it's going to be a very long night. However, rather than the frantic action gameplay you would expect to find in a roguelike, Crown Trick has you battling enemies in a turn-based system where they mirror your every move. As a result, it provides a slightly more cerebral, strategic take on a genre that often devolves into me battering the dodge button in a desperate bid to survive.
When you play the game of Nuclear Thrones, you win or you die. But if you die, you get to come back again for another bout of frantic twin-stick roguelike action, so you're still sort of winning. Set in a world that's been nuked into a whole new type of strange, Nuclear Throne offers a range of zany characters for you to play as, each with their own special abilities. If you love a good dodge roll, then Fish is your man. Whereas if you prefer to explode the corpses of your fallen enemies, well then, you're an interesting sort of person, and also you'd probably like to play as Melting. Whoever you pick, you'll have the chance to gradually upgrade them with all manner of wicked special powers, like the ability to drill straight through walls, plus an insane arsenal of weapons that include stuff like flame-spouting shotguns and poisonous crossbows. Things will get absolutely hectic when you're playing by yourself, but add a buddy into the mix on September 9th and you can kick up the chaos to a whole other level.
Outer space in all its majesty and mystery can really take your breath away, especially if you're left stranded out in the middle of it with a very limited supply of oxygen. In Breath Edge, the biggest space liner in mankind's history has spectacularly exploded and you've been left floating amongst the debris. So you'd better get to work, drifting through the remains of the spaceship to see what you can scavenge and crafting tools to try and improve your current situation. All while keeping one eye firmly on that ever-dropping oxygen meter to make sure you get back to your base in time for a refill. While it's a survival game where the consequences for messing up are pretty dire, Breath Edge maintains a wacky sense of humor throughout, allowing you to turn vacuum cleaners into motorbikes and plug holes using chewing gum. So at least you'll go out with a smile on your frozen, oxygen-deprived face.
Last up and arriving on September 9th, we've got the Artful Escape, the surrealist rock opera which fans have been waiting years to get their hands on, and it's easy to see why there is so much anticipation. It tells the story of a young musician who embarks on an epic journey to step out from the shadow of his uncle, Johnson Vendetti, a folk music legend with more than a bit of Bob Dylan about him. You'll also find shades of Wes Anderson and Steven Spielberg in the game's rich visual style, plus voice work from actors like Lena Headey, Jason Schwartzman, and Mr. Apollo Creed himself, Carl Weathers. The star power in this game could light up the night sky, and that's before we've even mentioned that the whole thing was conceived by honest-to-goodness rock star Johnny Galvatron, who is drawn from his own experiences on the road to craft its tale. So when the Artful Escape finally takes the stage this month, you'll want to make sure you've got a front row seat.
Basically, whether you're trying to become a star or just to stay alive while you float out amongst them, Xbox Game Pass is the place to be this September. Let us know which titles you're most looking forward to in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for all the latest Xbox news. See you next time. Bye!